Righto, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of the Landers Lounge. We've been all around the world so far, France, Dunedin, and today, we've got 2 of the absolute greats of Highlanders rugby. We've got the championship winning coach, Big Jamie Joe, streaming in from his Roslyn living room, and the man himself, Aaron Smith, who seems to be on every podcast, vlogcast, interview going around regarding rugby at the moment. Too much time on his hands. But I'm going to start with you, Jake. How are you, mate? Obviously, back in Dunedin. Your family mustn't know what's hit them, mate. The most time you spent with them probably in the last 3 years.
Yeah. And that from that point of view, it's been really good. Obviously, been living in Japan for 3 years. Mandy and 2 of our children came with us. The other 2 stayed in boarding school in Dunedin. So over the last sort of 3.5 years, we haven't spent a lot of time. We spent a lot of time apart, I should say. So in lockdown, for me personally, it's been, from that perspective, it's been pretty good. Spending a lot of time, family time.
You personally, it's been good, but I mean the family. They ready to put you back off to Tokyo yet, mate?
Yeah, I watched something on Instagram that felt a crib, and I've got to get down to my zero and find somewhere in neutral where I can get to Rarururu. I like I've got my little wee space out in the shed, which has got a watt bike, and I pound myself in there for about an hour a day, and that tends to bring me right, mate.
You've got another little contraption, I understand, in the shed too, the sauna. Can you give us a rundown on that? Japanese tradition?
Yeah. Well, when I went to Japan, I sort of fell in love with how they do things at the end of the day and having a sauna. So last year we put a sauna in at home, and part of that also they have TVs in their saunas, and they can sit back, relax, watch the news or whatever. And I thought I could do a bit of punting on the TAB and watch a bit of code. And so about the 3rd sauna in, I could smell something, and looked up, and my TV was melting. So I had to change it around after that.
Well, the only other man that could afford a sauna in Dunedin is Aaron Smith. I'll bring you in, Nug. How are you getting on, mate? You must be loving it. Bit of extra time with the family, mate.
Yeah, hey Joey, and thanks for having us, mate. And yeah, bro. So yeah, like you said about all the podcasts I've been jumping on, it's just because I'm bored, buddy. So just trying to connect and do what I can. But mate, it's been great to be home with the family. Hang out my little boy. Try not irritate Tegan too much, which I struggle to do. But I do what Jake does too. I just take off to the shed when I can and do some workouts and jump in a sauna. And I got an infrared one. It's like a kit set one. But yeah, it's been great. But yeah, it's getting to that point, isn't it, where you can only do so much watt bikes, so much treadmills and circuits in your shed. I'm starting to miss the boys, and these Zoom calls and stuff help, but there's nothing like running around on a field, and you just miss that team environment, the banter, the changing room. I miss playing rugby. So, but hey, it is unprecedented times, and we just got to make do and keep smiling and keep positive.
Hey, Jake, have you had a haircut since you've been in lockdown? You look quite sharp, mate.
Well, we've got some, shavers, and Manny does the business on me and Ben now and again. So I think I had one at the start of lockdown. Other than that, no. I've just got to shower, mate, so it might be looking a bit smoother than I
yeah, you put a bit of gel in?
I just got out of the shower.
Just like that.
This is just how it happens.
Oh, I got Courtney to give me a haircut, Nug. You being the
oh my goodness.
What are your thoughts? What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, put their head back on, bro.
Yeah, she reckoned she was trying to give me a fade.
She gave me a bit of a fader.
Yeah,
you always did well.
What about you, mate? Are you cutting your own hair?
Oh, mate, I'm going as grey as they. So I'm just going with the number 3 all over.
Pretty tight,
it is what it is. But I try to box it up,
Yeah, you got to go with it, mate.
Yeah.
You've earned those grey hairs,
embrace
buddy.
the grey.
Yeah, the silver fox like Jake. A little bit of salt and pepper. Never heard anyone, eh?
Yeah, that's right. I can't deny it. There's more and more of it coming every day too.
I bet the stress levels will be going through the roof, mate. Hey, I'm going to take you back, Jake, way back now. I don't know how many years we're going to have to go back here, but to basically the days where you first came down to Dunedin, and those Otago days with some of those legends of our game that went on to, represent Otago, the All Blacks, the Highlanders, some of the greats, mate. So you're a Marlborough boy, born and bred like myself, and moved down there. What was the attraction to head to the deep south?
Well, the education obviously wheels, but the rugby really. So I went to high school up in Marlborough. Then I did a couple of years of boarding school in Hamilton. But my mum and dad moved. The old man was a rugby coach as well, so they moved to Australia. So I spent a year and a bit over in Perth playing some footy, and then the old man said you better go back and get an education. So when I looked through the universities and the teams, I had a couple of mates down here from Blenheim, and who I flattered with in the first year. So we came down to Otago, and just so happened, at that time, Otago was always a reasonably strong team, but traditionally selected. And I guess what I mean there is a lot of club players, not a lot of students. So within a couple of years, Laurie Mains, who was the current Otago coach, we started selecting students, and that's the likes of the Mark Ellis there and Peter John Timmers, all of us that went to university were good mates playing for Varsity A. We ended up being in the Otago team, and that was sort of the start of our era.
Yeah, nice, mate. You mentioned a couple of, I suppose, characters of those teams, the PNAs, the Ellises, and the likes. What those blokes like to play with, mate? Pretty mad, I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, in those days, it was just different. So basically, club rugby was, tribal. So club rugby was really, really tough. All of the rep players would play rugby. There was no super footy, and early in the season. So we all went through a pre-season with our clubs, played club footy, and then if we're good enough, we'd make the Otago team or the Otago B-side. And in this case, we all played for university. So I spent a couple of years at the university, and then I went out to the Southern Club. But, I think there might have been in our team nearly a dozen All Blacks, that came out of that era. So John Timu, Aaron Penne, Jeff Wilson, Josh KRONFELD, TAINE Randell, myself. Wow. That's just off the cuff. But that was a pretty strong side. And we're all under the age of 25,
But you have some fun, Jake. Couple of good stories.
We did have a bit of, yeah, also, I'm not sure I can elaborate on our stories.
Got to give us something.
Well, I think in those days we had pubs around university, which they don't no longer have. So, a lot of our time, we're flattening Castle Street. Thursday nights was a good time to go down for a couple of quiets down the Gardies, and then then you get a few shenanigans after that. Our coach was a detective, Gordon Hunter.
Yeah.
So if guys got in the shit, then he would actually rescue us. But when it got down to business at the end of the year, rugby's rugby, in it, and we just because we gelled so well off the field, we played really good footy on the field, mate.
Yeah. No, you're another guy like myself, an out-of-towner who came down to Dunedin looking for a little bit of gold. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you started when Jamie started with the Highlanders. You came down in 2011. Is that right?
Yeah, mate. That summer of 2010, leading into 2011, it was my first year.
How did that conversation go? How did that sell from the big man go, getting you down, flying you out of Palmerston North? I mean, that would have been hard. That wouldn't have been that hard getting around to Palmy North. Let's be honest, but yeah, getting you organised to get on a ferry, drive down, that would have been the hairy bit, I'd imagine.
Well, I guess if you remember your contract talks of Jamie, they're pretty short and abrupt. So he rung me, he says, Jamie Joe's going to ring you. Be ready. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, just he's going to tell you what he thinks. And I was like, cool. And he's like, hey, Aaron, enjoyed my time with you at the Maldives. I'm the Highlanders coach. And I think you could go all right, but you got till tomorrow. If you want to come down to the Landers. And otherwise I'll pick someone else who wants to be there. So, I don't have much to say, but hopefully hear from you tomorrow. So I rang Wazza back. And I said, I don't want to lose this gig. I like what he's selling. Let's go. And then Wazza's like, sweet. And then
he didn't sell much, mate. He didn't sell much. He just said you've got till tomorrow to make up your mind.
Yeah. Well, at the time it was, there was so much, like I was a small halfback. I just had a lot of fun with Jake on the Maldives trip, obviously. So it was like only a couple of weeks after. And as I said, I kind of enjoyed the way Jake coached, a little bit old school, and sort of had that ability to make you want to play for him. Yeah. Plus his ability to relax as well with the coach. It was sort of one of the first coaches I was able to have a beer with and a chat with, and just have two sides to the guy, which was cool. And then Super Rugby was so hard to crack back then. So just to get a full contract, that's what he offered. I was like, it wasn't a wider squad gig, which the Hurricanes and the Blues were sort of like come down and just have a sit in our squad. I was really chasing a full-time gig, and I was really happy to do it. It was a bit scary, like you said about leaving Palmy. You get stuck in your bubble, but it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me, coming down the deep south. And as you know, I've been here 10 years now, and I love this place and what it's given me, how it's helped me grow up, and I owe it to that because they're there. So I'm very happy, very lucky.
I'll tell you what, the pre-Christmas sort of November through to Christmas time frame with JV Joe pre-seasons, probably one of the most famous pre-seasons of them all. Mike, can you give
especially
us,
early on, Joe?
Yeah, yeah. Can you give everyone a little bit of an insight into what the big man used to make us go through?
Yeah, so we used to. He was mates with some jiu-jitsu guy, so we'd go to the mats. The first year in the Highlanders, the first 4 games, we counter-rucked anything that was low. Like if there was a back or one guy there, we were in like 3 or 4 guys. But we trained it all pre-season on the mats. So we were doing jiu-jitsu, crawling, and then tackling in that. And one of the sessions I hated the most was he'd make NASI, Bronson Murray, and Jose Gear, I think he was still there, run at us. And me, Sparky, Sean Romans, and that would have to tackle them. And then when the boys would go soft and we'd tackle them good, he's like, Jose, Nasi, I want you to bowl these fellas. And we'd have to me and Lima like tackle big guys. He's like, you got to get used to it. And, but then the down ups was probably the biggest thing. Was bread and butter, as it was called. Andrew Bedmore would every Friday or whenever Jake would say boys were playing up at training or something, we'd do 12 rounds of down ups, 12 sets of 10. I think JARROD HOEATA Mafu was still going, as Bender said, still down at Logan Park, slaving away.
I'll tell you what, mate, my back's howling at the moment, and I'd blame it on you, Jake. I'll blame it on you. If I need another back operation, I'm coming to you, mate. You can pay for it.
I'm just passing it forward because I've had 2 back operations, and they were passed down for me from my coaches, mate.
Yeah, so what was obviously the mindset around that's probably a little bit of the mental toughness side of things, Jake, and probably a bit of working hard together. But was that sort of a little bit of what you got when back in those Otago days under Gordy and TG at a later stage?
I think you sort of, as a coach, you're looking at your team and what you have and how you need to build a team. And you guys have just sort of, basically gone over quite a long time. There's about 5 or 6 seasons, but where we started and where we ended up, it's in 2 different places. So I think in the team in the 2011 season that Nuggies alluded to was the Highlanders were last, and we didn't have a great. So I had a lot of young players, a lot of good up and comers like Aaron and ELLIOT, DIXON, and so there's players like that are very young but very capable, and their potential was high. But there was also, and so part of that really is just the learning process where they go through and learn how to be men, and so that was all that was really about. And then now and again, it's not so bad to have a bit of a tickle up, mate. So now and again, you're part of the tickle up. So I just sort of keep people honest and hold people accountable, hold the team accountable. But really, it's just part of trying to build a really strong team.
Oh yeah, it worked, mate. Bloody worked. You guys have been obviously sort of connected for a long time in terms of the Highlanders together. You must have, with your personality, Nug, and your personality, Jake, and I know sitting in senior player meetings there've been a few, let's say, heated conversations over the years. I'll start with you, Nug, first. Any that really spring to mind, mate, that sort of maybe funny or stuff that, you look back on now and you're like, man, that was a pretty hard case that we're scrapping over that or whatever it was?
Oh, there's in my mind, there's sort of 2 Jakes. There's like pre-Jake listening to the leadership group and then Jake on board, so pre that. And I remember those times at training, we wouldn't name the team till quite late in the piece in 2011 and 12. Yeah. And I remember one time we did this line-out move and I threw a ball, it went to ground. And he's like, nah, not good enough. Get out now. Jimmy in. And then Jimmy jumped in. He threw a brick. Nah, shit, Jim. Sparky jumped in. Sean Romans. So we're doing this, as you know, as a line-out forward. So you do a front ball at 2 and I've got to hit 12. Well, that's a hell of a pass. And, you know, Phil Burley's trying his best and it's a bit of a windy day at Logan Park and it's a hard pass. And, yeah, Crosby and HOEATA just flicking it down and I just stuff like that. But I think when Brownie got on board with Jake and in those meetings it was more hearing Brownie tell Jake, nah, it's all good, Jake, we're good. just trust the plan and that, it was cool. But his ability to, my favourite was watching the forwards unit and yous were doing mauls that day and Jake comes steaming in, shorts, socks on. It's maul day and I'm just like, Brownie's over there, we're playing grubber touch and you boys are just howling, scrums, mauls. I just love that intensity of that stuff and it was cool. But like I think I wasn't in the forwards, but yeah, you could hear him getting into you boys. I think you more have some stories.
One phrase that's ingrained sort of in the back of my brain, Jake, is the wheels, no good to be out, ho in, oh, no good to be out, Lucci in, Lucci, no good to be, get out of there. I reckon you went through a whole forward pack one day, no good to you.
Yeah, you might be right, mate. Things haven't really changed a hell of a lot.
How do you go with the Japanese telling them they're no good to you?
I might have changed the word, but my body language is similar. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, really, it was the way I coach and the way I am is different. I just have a coaching style, which you know what it's like. And I think when you sit down in hindsight, looking back and around what we need to do to get to the end point, and if that end point is to win a match or win a competition, that's what I set out to try and do. So I often say, you know, to the coaches when we sit around having a yarn before we go into a leadership meeting or when we go to address the team, as we often practice our what we're going to say to the players, to you guys, in our coaches meeting, because often what we agree on and then we get out in front of the group is what you hear and what we've said is often two different things. And so we've got to be really careful about our messaging. And I guess what I'm saying is in the early days when you're a greenhorn coach and I was coming through the ranks, we didn't do that. And then you're right there when Brownie came on board, different fella, and so I've learned a lot off him around, I don't know, just being a little bit more patient, and while my expectations are still high, just allowing a little bit more for the players to make mistakes, not to be, you know, perfect right from the outgo, and that's really helped my coaching. I guess that's where we've gone to, mate. So you're talking 2010, it's 10 years ago now. So, but then again, I'll dip back in there, so don't worry.
I hope you're still throwing cheers across the meeting room saying, Ruck's over there, point with your hand, pulling that T-shirt down that's always 2 sizes too small.
Yeah, well,
that's some great memories, mate.
I don't think of that though, Joey. Like it always helped with the when you train under that pressure. Like when you got to a game and that he couldn't yank you, so you were all good, you know. Like I think that's the thing. Tuesday training, you're training at a level harder than a game because of the pressure of it. I think it just builds resilience. And if you look at the way Lima, myself, from where we started to where we got to under Jamie. Jake wouldn't even come at me and Lima then because he knew we'd trained under Jake enough that we knew how to turn up, and he'd tickle us up if we weren't. But we knew, like, that's the thing I learned from that kind of being coached that way.
It's a principle that I believe in, really, fellas, around this training and intensity higher than the game becomes fun, and it's just making sure that you get a good balance around that. And you know, so in these times where I haven't got a good balance and times where I've got a good balance, but that's ultimately what we're trying to achieve, whether it be physical or putting you under. So no good to me, Wills, is just putting you under a wee bit of mental stress, mate, and making sure that, you know, between you and Ho, there can only be one, not two. So and there it is right there. You're fighting each other, you know, wanting to be in part of that team, wanting to be part of that 23 or that 15 or whatever it might have been. So, yeah, just a little method that I like applying now and again, fellas.
Yeah, mate. While we're on the serious front, there's obviously a lot of speculation around where things are going with, I suppose, rugby in general around the world, and I suppose more so from a New Zealand perspective. And I'm interested on your thoughts. Firstly, Jake, from the Japanese head coach, like with Super Rugby, where do you see, obviously the Sunwolves at this stage are not meant to be in the competition next year, but with what's happened over the last month, can you see that changing potentially?
I think the short answer is yes. I think the fact that the Sunwolves were, just a second, I think the fact that the Sunwolves were basically kicked out of the competition, before the World Cup, and then the success of the Japanese team during the World Cup, and the fact the success of the whole World Cup as a venue and as a competition, really surprised a lot of people and highlighted Japan as a country and a market for rugby as a place for the future. So if I fast forward now to where we are now there's a coronavirus, the season's been cut short. The finances around the game are under real pressure all over the world. Super Rugby is a real unknown. Will the Sunwolves be involved? In some ways, I hope so. The biggest challenge, as you know, Wheels, is a domestic season is at the same time as the Super Rugby season. So what that means is the boys can't actually play for two teams in the same time. So and the Japanese Rugby Union have never been in favour of having a professional, being a professional team. So we don't actually play our players. So we have to borrow them from the country, from the companies. So I don't see our top players at the moment being part of Super Rugby on the basis of the same schedule of competition. If that changes, then yeah, the national team does need a competition like the Super Rugby to prepare for for events like the World Cup. Otherwise, we just can't get ready in time.
And for you, Nug, where would you like to see it headed, mate? Like, do you want to see Japan still be involved in some respect, or less teams maybe out of South Africa, or no teams out of South Africa at all? What do you think, mate?
I think the Sunwolves and the Jaguars add a lot to Super Rugby because it's another, like, Japan's amazing to go to. We played the Sunwolves game there, it was packed, warm weather and passionate fans, and just it's another country as a rugby player to go to, Super Rugby's amazing. Now you can go to, it's not just Aussie and South Africa, you can go to Japan, Argentina, countries you probably couldn't get to otherwise, So definitely love seeing the Sunwolves play, and they're awesome, and they've obviously got it's another sort of a chance for Kiwi guys to play as well, who were kind of on the outer of teams and sort of playing in Japan. But no, I like the way they play in that, and yeah, we just want to get back playing Super Rugby. So however that works, yeah, if they want to get rid of an Aussie team and make sure the Japanese are in, I'm all for that, or a South African team. Because, but the hard part is that if the Japanese Sunwolves put out one of their best teams, they'd go pretty close, I reckon.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Anything
the trouble with us, Wheels. Yeah, well, we just need time to prepare. So what's happened in the past, and why the Sunwolves really struggled to actually win games, is our top league would finish in January. We'd get the boys for 2 or 3 weeks, and they're absolutely shattered because they've just finished, 6 months of top league plus a November tour to Europe. Come out of that, play the top 4 of our domestic top league, and then we were trying to get them ready to go into the Super Rugby, and that's just too tough. Just can't win. We nicknamed it a rugby marathon, and rugby's 80 minutes, but we were playing for 3 years in a row, so too tough under those circumstances.
Yeah, bloody oath it is, mate. Bloody oath. I suppose lastly, Jake, we've got to have going back to 2014 into 2015, those 2 years were pretty special. And I also want to talk about some of the off-field antics that happened over those 2 years. And the one that I remember quite fondly was Durban. I think it was Durban, maybe, where we got bailed out in the semi over there against the Sharks. And we had an extra day spent over there into season. And I remember coming down at breakfast and heading out to the poolside, and here you are, you and NASI, champagne breakfast at about 9 a.m. And little did you know, until probably the next day when you went to clear the bill, that those bottles, all those bottles of Verve that we were saying that we were sharing around the group, were all just going on your room, mate. And myself and NASI were signing on behalf of Jamie Joe for the bottles of Verve. So I don't know what the damage was, mate. Did you get a receipt on that trip to do by any chance? And hopefully,
No.
man, you didn't see it.
Nah, didn't matter too much. We'd had a tough year the year before, so that was a really good end to a lot of hard work. We're on our way, really. And I do remember the champagne breakfast. I do remember the bill. I don't remember how much it is. I think it was above 500, less than $1,000. But I do also remember another thing, because that same evening we went to a fishing place down in the. I'm sure you remember this one, Wills, and things were going really, really well until the guys started taking their clothes off, and guys like yourself, Wills.
Who would have done that?
And I just remember saying, I wonder if Courtney would appreciate, your husband to be getting his gears off, and I think those are the antics that you were alluding to around there, Jacob.
The nude run tradition.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, those are the sorts of things that Alison used to do back in the day, Will. So things are pretty consistent, mate.
Yeah, well, 2015, Alice and Penne made an appearance after the final down in Dunedin in the mighty Mornington for, I think, if my memory holds up, I think it was maybe day 3. We're going pretty good, and Alice and Penne joined the party, and it has to be said that I think their number one target was the big man himself in that court session. Would you agree?
Yeah, but he didn't say a word. You didn't say a word, Jake. And Alice and Penne were like, geez, Jake's been quiet. And every time they sent a jug towards the management, they just stood up and no qualms. I remember JP banging a few. Jake just stood up every time. And then, it was the courtie of courties. 4-hour court session felt like an hour. It had everything. The famous Highlanders Tux Wonder Challenge. The circle, everyone got to say their bit. And just, Muller tackling a bin full of beers, which was silly, but I'll tackle anybody. That's what he said. But so much love in the room, and to achieve something, especially after 2013, as Jake will remember, and you'll remember, Joey, is to go within 2 years, the next year, with a whole revamped team of sort of nobodies, as they called it, to go into 2015 with a forward pack who they said couldn't win a comp, ended up being the best. So, unity, culture prevails, sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I don't know if you boys have seen it. So wait for that truck to go past. Poor installation up here. I don't know if you've seen it in the other episodes. We've asked all our guests to name their all-time Highlanders 15, plus a coach. So, Nug, I'm going to get you to start things off with your 15, mate. Yours, please.
Yeah. So, I don't know much about props, but I know I'll name my front row. I've got Case Muse, Anton Oliver, and Carl Heyman. So, whatever side they need to be on, please swap.
And I think you got it right, mate. You got it right with the tight end Lucy.
Oh, that's good.
Case could play both.
Yeah. And then in my locking, I'm sorry, Joe, I've gone Tom, Sizzle Shan, Franklin, and big mean Jared HOEATA. In the loosies, I'm sure Elliot will flip, but I've gone Squiddy, and then I've moved Big Elliot to 7. He played a couple of games at 7 for us, and he was brilliant. But this is the home game at Forsyth Bar, so we're going to go for athletes. And then at 8, I've got Nasi, Nacho Man at captain. Number 9, I've gone Jimmy Cowan.
Didn't pick yourself, mate. Surprise.
No, you can't do that. And Lima Sopawonga Skinny. In the midfield, I've gone Tamati Ellison at 12, pairing in with Mulladox at 13. And then on the left wing, I've gone Big Mooks, Jose Gear, and Waisaki Naholo, the man. And then co-captaining with Nas at the back, the accountant Bender.
Surprise.
Coaches, Jamie and Brownie, championship duo. Manager, Moose, Paul McLaughlin, our manager now. And on the Spates committee, I've gone Mark Ellis and Joe Awela.
Oh, yes, make the team. Most important part. Beverages, half time. Righto, Jake. Everyone, suspense builds.
Not really. I've never really liked these sort of things. Because they're really subjective, mate, and I thought I'd have a bit of a laugh.
Here's the political spin.
I haven't picked the best players. It's easy to, because if you think about the front row, which Nuggies just named, they're all key All Blacks. But my loose head is Brendan Doogie Edmonds, and the reason that is because I think he was going to be a player of the future. This competition is he in his first year really for the Highlanders, we won a championship, and he just had a lot of potential when he was a good bastard. And so here's my loose head, Anton Oliver. So a quick story. So when he first came to Otago, he would have been, I guess, 19, and we used to put the young fellas through the traps as players. What that was is the physical traps. So Gordy used to train us quite hard, and I remember him getting the best of both me and Aaron, and we used to rate ourselves pretty good on the physical side. And so he goes into hooker and captain. We've got with big bad news. Still benches 250 down in his gym in Green Island, so he still has.
It's only because his arms are about that long, Jack.
Two locks. So you obviously need a polar bear who's about hitting things. So that for me is this year it's a brown bear, Leo Falanico, Samoan fella that I played rugby with and played a lot of rugby for MANU Samoa, and now I understand is a MMA fighter in Perth or a coach. So you don't want to muck around with that fella. And Simon Doc Maley, line-out specialist. Now Farmer, number 6. So we need a few smart guys. So loose forwards were pretty hard to select, Wheels, Nuggy, because there's so many good loose forwards over the years. So I've gone with the old guys. TAINE Randell, 6 Josh KRONFELD, and NASI at number 8. My 9 is Nuggy, who I think you're one of the best players in the world, mate, and good on you for being that. Good on you for making that decision 10 years ago, and it only took you a day.
Thank you.
So, yeah, make sure.
Thanks
Number
for
10
bringing
for
me
me. The next one is Brownie for me at 10. Selected him on courage and consistency, and the claw, 3 C's. The 2 wingers, X Factor. So that's Goldie. He was a player, well ahead of his time when he was playing. Waisaki. Same with the midfield. I like these guys because they were just raw bone tough and relentless and resilient. And there's the Barracuda and Mother, number 12 and 13. And Bender, of course, at 15, coached by the late Gordon Hunter.
Brilliant teams, boys. Brilliant teams. Well done.
Thanks, fellas. Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to create a lot of debate, as they have been already, a lot of the teams. Always great to catch up, fellas, and I hope lockdown is treating you and your families well. Stay safe to all the Highlanders fans out there. Stay safe, stay at home, and let's keep doing what we're doing because we're doing a great job. And Jake, I look forward to maybe in the next few weeks if we do get out of lockdown and you get up to your batch up here in Marlborough, catching up at the Royal, where we can see a few of those slick dance moves. And look forward to locking horns. Probably not at E45, mate, but maybe somewhere else for a coffee or a pint at some stage. But cheers, fellas. Thanks for your time.
Awesome, Will.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Joey.
guys. See you next.
Guys.
Okay, mate.